Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tips, tools, and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have guest Benjamin Bernstein. Benjamin is an AstroShaman, spiritual teacher, astrologer, and best-selling author of Instant Divine Assistance, your complete guide to fast and easy spiritual awakening, healing, and more. Benjamin is also the host of two podcasts, Awaken, Heal, and Thrive, and This Week in Astrology. He facilitates life-transforming healings and spiritual awakenings in his individual and group sessions and has devoted more than 45 years to his spiritual practice. Welcome, Benjamin. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Oh, Tanya, I'm so grateful to be here. Thanks so much for having me on.
So you and we're going to talk about embodying the awakening process. And so I have a lot of questions today. This is going to be a really rich show. I'm very excited. And I first have to ask, though, did your last name change due to the Mandela effect?
I have no idea. I wouldn't have remembered.
That was the first thing I thought when I saw your name. Because, man, that Bernstein Bears, that just gets me every time.
I've heard about that.
So my next question is, what is an AstroShaman? I have never heard of that before, and I'm really excited to hear what that is.
Well, I coined the word. Originally, I started as an astrologer, and then after a few years, I added shamanic healing to my practice. I said, well, what? And my practice was called It's All Good Astrology when I was just astrologer. What name could I come up with that brings both? Well, AstroShaman, duh. Okay, astrology and shamanism all put together. I've actually since added more stuff on there, but I figured that for my main one-on-one practice, that name was comprehensive enough.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So, Benjamin, one of your greatest joys is helping others with your instant divine assistance invocations. These simple, potent techniques make spiritual awakening and healing fast and easy. You claim that this process can also quickly and permanently heal a serious challenge, even one that's caused years of physical, emotional, or even mental suffering, by delegating the work to the inner healer or the higher self. And so, Benjamin, can you explain first what an invocation is, and then provide us with a little bit more detail about what the instant divine assistance invocation is?
Sure. I'll just define invocations the way I use them. There's, different ways you can think about invocations broadly. But for me, I'm invoking from the human self is invoking something to happen from the higher self. And my concept is that every human has a higher self that created the human part, is watching over it, dropping hints, and, watching how the human goes through the lifetime that they set up for them. And what I've learned is that my higher self is way better at awakening than Benjamin is. It's way better at healing than Benjamin is. So having spent so many years and decades of spiritual practice trying to do all this from ego level through effort and willpower, I've discovered through the grace of Ayahuasca, really, and her giving me these invocations, that if I just ask my higher self to do things for me, it's way quicker, it's way faster, it's a lot less effort. It is the quick, easy way to do it that actually gets it done more efficiently and more definitively than any ego-based path that I'm aware of.
Absolutely. And I can totally vouch for that myself as well. I work in the quantum field, and when you're working in the quantum field with your higher self, it is just immediate how things can shift so fast. And like you said, the higher self can see from a broader perspective, right? It's like, I always think it's like, the higher self is the human and we're the ant, right? If you were an ant, you're walking around, but the human can look down on the anthill and see, hey, you've got to get that piece of rice over here and you need to go this way. Yep. So it's just the microcosm to the macrocosm, right? It's that fractalization. And so I want to talk a little bit about this too, Benjamin. You believe that someone who truly wishes to serve others should maintain a strong focus on self-healing and self-awakening. I also very, very strongly believe this as well. But I'm curious to hear, can you explain why you believe this to be true?
Well, because if you're really in service to others, you want to keep increasing your own capacity to serve. And the more awakened and healed you are individually, the greater your capacity to help others can be.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My experience is if I still have unhealed wounds and traumas within me, those are, in a sense, an obstacle to my optimal ability to help others. So I need to get those healed as quickly as I can. And if I'm not as awakened as I could potentially be, I've had enough awakenings now to know that each one opens me to a new level of energy and capacity and inspiration and consciousness. And thus, I want to always be optimizing and maximizing my own awakening process because that just makes me a better service agent for other people.
Absolutely. And, I think too, we live in a vibrational universe. And so what we're working on is what we're healing, and then we're attracting. This happens to me all the time with my clients. If I'm working on something, I attract clients that are
Hmm.
working on very, very similar things because of frequency and vibration. And it's like I'm bringing them
Right.
in. And the neat thing about it is we work on it together. And then I get done with a session and I'm like, really, universe? Like that's how easy it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so you also talk about healing and blessing others simply by calling it in and being a hollow reed. What is a
Hmm.
hollow reed?
A pipeline, really. Hollow reed is a more Native American reference. But the basic idea is if I want to have good energy flow to someone else for healing or whatever benefit it might give them, then again, my higher self is going to do that better than me. Benjamin has to initiate it by saying, please flow highest good energy to this person, this situation, or this group of people, or this whatever I'm calling it for. And then once I call it, I just relax and I feel the energy coming in my crown, going out the front of my body through whatever chakras it needs to process through. And I just kind of watch it go. And basically, because the higher self is monitoring in real time what's happening as the energy goes over to the other person, it literally millisecond by millisecond be adjusting the color of the light, the frequency of the divine beings that may need to call in to help. And by delegating the management of that to the higher self, it's going to happen a lot more potently than if Benjamin is trying to manage it from his limited ego awareness.
Absolutely. And I think too, the more that we clean out that hollow reed by doing the work, right, and doing the healing, it just makes it a lot easier for that energy to flow through us as well. I look
Yep.
back at myself 10, 15, 20 years ago, my hollow reed was probably pretty congested
Absolutely.
versus to where it is now, and probably where it will be 15, 20 years from now as well. And so let's talk a little bit about the embodied awakening, because that's what this whole show is about. And you have an embodied awakening invocation that can let anyone experience embodied awakening within seconds. So,
Mhm.
what is embodied awakening, and how does this particular invocation work?
Okay. Well, first, let me ask, do you want me to just talk about it, or do you want me to actually lead your listeners and watchers through it
Let's
while we're
do both if you're up for that. I think let's
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about it first and then lead us through it. I think that would be
Okay.
amazing.
Yeah, it won't take long at all once it's been described. So basically, let me just give credit where it's due. Uh, uh, Ayahuasca. I've worked with ayahuasca now for, gosh, 17 years. I've done about 300 ceremonies now.
Oh, wow.
And I, the first ceremony I did in 2011, just out of nowhere, she dropped these invocations into my brain. And I used the embodied awakening invocation to immediately bring myself into an awakened state by invoking
He
it.
is the facilitator, you mean?
No, I was not. I was only a participant in this. I wasn't facilitating the ceremony, but
No, but when you said she dropped the invocations into your brain, are you talking
ayahuasca
about
did.
okay. Oh,
No, I'm speaking about the
ayahuasca.
ayahuasca plant spirit, not the person
Gotcha.
who was
Okay.
facilitating the ceremony. Yeah, sorry, she's a feminine spirit.
I love that. Okay.
So that drops in. I use it on myself. It works. I turn to the person next to me after the ceremony is over. I do it with her. She immediately awakens. 3 other people are watching. They want to know what it's about. I lead them. They awaken. So good start. And then I start doing it with people who aren't under the influence of ayahuasca, and it still works. So,
That's
okay,
awesome.
it's not, fortunately, you don't have to have drunk ayahuasca to make this happen, right? But the basic idea is there are, I usually just use the shortcut, the 8 words that are required. So basically, let me kind of give the setup. So the idea is that your human body is like a car, and instead of your ego driving, your ego goes to the passenger seat so your divine can drive.
Mhm.
However, ego is the boss. And if for any reason your ego doesn't like the higher self's driving, you can instantly be back behind the wheel. The higher self steps out with no fuss. It won't stay if you don't want it there. So there's no risk. You're safe. It's okay to try it. Okay. No danger at all. And by the way, no overwhelm either. None of these invocations that I teach ever cause overwhelm in any way, shape, or form. The higher self is watching that and will not allow that. Only as much as you can handle ever comes through, whether it's awakening or
So
healing.
it's not like Niagara Falls through a straw.
No, not at all. So basically, that's the setup. And then let me also talk about the benefits. There's a lot of benefits that are beyond language, but here's the things I can say that will happen when you're in embodied awakening that are easy to understand. First, there is more harmony, flow, ease, and grace. Second, everything you are responsible for, you do more responsibly and more joyfully. This is not a space out, I'm a useless mess kind of awakening. This is a practical, I do everything better kind of awakening. I don't have to think as much about things because my intuition works better and I can just know what to do real easily without having to go through a lot of mental process.
That sounds great.
And also there is a full body euphoria that comes when you're in embodied awakening.
Oh, wow.
And the deeper you go, the more wonderful the euphoria gets.
I bet. I bet.
Okay, so those are the easy to describe things that you can watch for to see if you're in the state. When you actually attain the state, you're fully in it when you can say yes to this question. No mental chatter, no challenging emotion, peaceful, and the state being held without effort. It's just there without you even trying. So when you're there, that's how I define embodied awakening. Okay. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It's more like a dimmer switch. I mean, most people get all the way there, but even if you just get part way there, that's still a nice step forward.
Yeah. And so does this happen immediately or does it happen over the course of time or?
Usually it happens very quickly. Most people I lead through it. Well, let me put it this way. The people who are using like I have some people who've been using this technology for over 10 years now. And what they report, as I say in my book, when they invoke it, they're usually in the state of embodied awakening within 5 to 10 seconds. That fast. Wow. And then, so what I recommend is do it first thing in the morning to just get it started. And then as soon as you got it, that 5 or 10 seconds, then go about your business, do your thing. If it ever slips during the day and you lose there's mental chatter back, there are challenging emotions back, you just refresh it. You do the 8 words again. You can even just think them without having to say them. And then just be passive for a moment to let it lock in. Takes just a few seconds, and then refresh it. So refresh as needed. And the people who have done this a long time say, I spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes a day refreshing. And then I get to spend every day, all day in embodied awakening.
That sounds amazing.
It is. It really is. I highly recommend it. And of all this, and
I can already feel it.
Yeah, as you said, I've been on the path for 45 years plus and have tried a lot of different spiritual tools. I have yet to find anything that a person can do on their own that works faster and more efficiently than these invocations do.
Oh, so
and I keep asking me, if you know something works better, let me know. And no one's come back with anything. So I keep waiting for the better technology, which I would then turn around and teach, but
absolutely.
Right now, these are the best I'm aware of. There may be better stuff out there, but I haven't found it yet.
I love that. So let's wait and do the invocation at the end of the show, if you don't mind. So,
sure.
Because if I'm in a heightened state of bliss, I don't know if I can guide us through the show.
Well, remember, everything you're responsible for, you do more responsibly and more joyfully.
Awesome.
Don't get into that paradigm of I'm a useless mess, of I'm an awakened. This is a functional awakening that makes everything in your life better.
Yeah. So let's talk about that awakening too, Benjamin. Does spiritual awakening have an endpoint, or does it just keep going deeper and deeper?
I can only speak to my experience. Now, of course, there's many masters who claim to have hit ultimate awakening, and that may be true, but I haven't been there. What I can say is I had my first abiding awakening in 2012, where this all came through ayahuasca ceremonies. And I started to have, by the end of the ceremony, I was in an awakened state for sure. I was one with my divinity. And it lasted until I went to sleep. And when I woke up the next morning, it was gone. And that was really frustrating. I wanted it to stay. But then finally I went to Peru and did like a month of ayahuasca ceremonies in the jungle. And on ceremony number 8, I actually had the abiding awakening, where it was still there the next morning. And I was laying there in my little hut in bliss for a day and a half, just in an ecstasy I didn't even know was possible. And I was wondering, oh my God, have I hit like the finish line already? Because I can't imagine a better bliss than this. This is just so good. I could die happy right now, kind of thing. But I had no perspective. And then a little while later, I had another awakening that went even deeper and was even more blissful. And that has happened. I've lost track of how many times that's happened since then. So my experience is it always gets better than this. My working principle is, okay, I cannot comprehend or imagine the level beyond where I am at. So I actually have no way to know how much more awakening might be out there waiting for me. My suspicion is, I'm awake enough to help people who aren't at the level I'm at yet. But my guess is there's way more awakening I haven't got to yet.
Yeah, because it's like when you think of source or universal energy, imagine what that feels like, when you're in that full expansive light body,
Yeah,
and here we're kind of constricted in these vessels.
Yeah, and
so
I've
to
had
speak.
enough tastes of the awakening beyond where I'm at. It didn't stick. Like sometimes when I do ayahuasca, I'll go to a whole new level of awakening. And then I work in my daily practice to, solidify and make that my new level the best I can. But my working principle, to answer your question more simply, is my working hypothesis right now is there's always a deeper awakening beyond where I'm at.
Yeah. And I feel that way too. I feel that it's almost like a spiral, we just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And you're like, whoa. And you can kind of, how much deeper can I go? And then they show you, your higher self shows you, hey, you're only touching the surface. And you're like, what?
And here's how I think about it even more cosmically. I'm a big fan of the law of one channeled material.
Yes.
And they say there's been an infinite number of universes before this, and there will be an infinite number of universes after this. So if that's true, even if I hit the ultimate awakening of this universe, I haven't awakened in all those other universes yet.
That's true. That's so true. It's like, it's never ending. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah,
which makes it exciting.
Yeah, my belief about life is it's all journey, no destination.
Yes. Yes. So, and the journey is where the joy is, right? That's where the meat of it is. That's where the awakening part is, I feel, because there's never going to be a destination. Because I had this chat with, I had a guest on my show, and he was a sheik, and we talked about Kundalini awakening, and he said, I was in this state of bliss and I thought I was done. I was like, I'm enlightened. And then he realized, oh no, that was just a little bit. That was a little morsel of what I had experienced years after that, and so because I think that's a limiting belief that we put on ourselves, that we're going to be enlightened or we're going to be awakened and it's done. And I don't want it to be done because it's fun.
No. Why would I want to limit my possibilities? That's
crazy. Exactly. So let's talk a little bit of ayahuasca. I didn't actually even have this on my docket here to talk about, but I didn't realize that you had done so many ayahuasca ceremonies. And, I've never done ayahuasca. It's not something that I've been guided to do yet. Not saying it's not something I will be guided to do at some point, but let's talk about the first time you did ayahuasca and what that experience was like.
Well, actually, the first time was a little odd. The way I did it, it wasn't a traditional ceremony. I'd rather talk about the general benefits, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
That'll actually be more helpful to your listeners than the odd first experience I had. But what I'll say is, first off, ayahuasca is part of ayahuasca and San Pedro, the cactus, are kind of the two main plant spirits I've worked with. I've also worked with mushrooms, which are helpful, but not on the same scale as ayahuasca and San Pedro are. Ayahuasca and San Pedro are the two psychoactive plant spirits that are used in South America in a real powerful way. But what I'll say about them is they are powerful accelerators and awakeners. They will let you do your healing work in a tiny fraction of the time it might take you otherwise. They are like just healing and awakening on steroids. I frequently have someone who's done an ayahuasca ceremony say, oh my God, that was better than 10 years of psychotherapy in one night, But it's also super intense. Especially ayahuasca. I mean, if what I say to people, if they're contemplating, if you are not ready and willing to face the most deep, traumatic, terrifying stuff in your psyche for hours on end with no way out but through, then you have no business drinking the medicine.
Yeah.
Because it can be terrifying, it can be really intense, and it will also heal you really fast if you allow it to. So if you're willing to do whatever it takes, to get the healing done, and if you're willing to do it fast and intense, then ayahuasca is a fabulous way to do it. At the same time, ayahuasca can open you to the most profound bliss, ecstasy, and euphoria that you can even imagine, and even better than that.
Yeah.
Now, some people might say, well, you've done almost 300 ceremonies. You've been doing this 17 years. When will enough be enough? Okay. And I don't think it can ever be enough because, my invocations are good and they come from ayahuasca. She's the one who dropped them in. But what I like about ayahuasca is assuming there's more awakenings available, which I'm sure there are, see, ayahuasca can see, okay, here's the next level of heavy trauma stuff that's in the way of your next awakening, Benjamin. And I, at the ego level, have no clue what it is, no idea at all. She sees that I go into ceremony, she clears it and takes me to the next awakening. And I cannot do that from my own ego level.
Yeah, it's like you're quantum leaping.
Yeah. Now, potentially, I guess if I worked hard enough with my higher self and my other divine allies, that could happen as well. But in my experience, working with ayahuasca is just so much faster. It's like going from impulse to warp.
Yeah.
So I use it because it's incredibly efficient. It keeps healing me and awakening me and making, since my job, you know, with what I do one-on-one and what I do with my Awakening Plus membership and my book, I'm here to help people heal and awaken. That's the reason I'm existing right now. And I need to keep, as we said earlier, my own healing and awakening accelerating so I can be as capable as possible to assist others. The more awake I am, the larger pool of people I can possibly help.
Absolutely. So if someone wanted to partake in an ayahuasca ceremony, how do they go about doing that? Do they have to go to Peru, or are there other options?
Well, if you want to do it legally, for the most part, you would need to go to Peru or Central or South America where it's legal. However, I was just working with a client today who said ayahuasca is now legal in Colorado, apparently.
It is.
Now, again, don't quote, she said that. They've apparently done a big legalization of substances there. And like there's a church down in Florida that claims to be legally serving ayahuasca as a church.
Oh, I remember that. I lived in Florida for a while. I remember someone mentioning that to me.
And to be honest, there's a ton of underground ceremonies being held, you know, just kind of on the down low. You have to
It's
know
like
something about them.
psilocybin. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's lots of great shamans. I would just recommend whoever you choose to work with, just do your best to determine that they are qualified to facilitate. They actually know what they're doing, and that they are of they are of high vibration, love, and light. There are light shamans and there are dark shamans, and you do not want to go into ceremony with someone who has ill intent.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
because it's all energy, frequency, and vibration. And I've even said that when you know, if you do a mushroom ceremony or you do any type of ceremony, make sure you're at a high frequency when you're going as high as you possibly can be at that moment, you know, when you're going into that ceremony. It does help.
Yeah, set and setting are very important.
Absolutely. So, eh, let's shift gears a little bit. You do astrology, and I was just curious: are there any astrological events or anything going on right now that you could share with us?
So I'm also keeping in mind that, you know, we're recording this in late March of 2023, but someone may be listening to this years from now.
Absolutely.
So there's one thing I can talk about that will probably still be relevant even years from now, which is Pluto just came into Aquarius. An outer planet shift is a big headline news. Pluto will be in Aquarius for about 20 years. And that is like the 60s all over again. Okay. Actually, in the 60s, we had Pluto and Uranus together in the sky, and that's what created all the crazy paradigm shifts that would happen so fast. As it happens, Aquarius is the same energy as the planet Uranus. So Pluto in Aquarius is very similar to Pluto and Uranus being together in the sky in the 60s. So we can have big change now. It can happen really fast. You know, there will be all sorts of ways this will show up. But what I'm excited about is this could really help bring the Aquarian age in much more strongly. In fact, I just did ayahuasca ceremonies this last weekend before we recorded this, and had a profound awakening to what some people would call 5D, or the next density that humans are going to. And it was stunning. It was like energy soup. And it was so intense. I had to keep saying, please make me large enough to comfortably contain this. This is so intense. And it was just amazing. And Pluto is opening that level now by coming into Aquarius. That energy is now more available to anyone who's ready for it. Now, as it turns out, most people in the ceremony I was in didn't feel that. So it can only open to a person when they are ready for it.
Absolutely. And you were at the frequency to receive that, obviously.
Right. Because I do ayahuasca ceremonies like I do every month. I'm there for 2 ceremonies. So I'm heavy duty with the shaman I'm working with.
Yeah. Very exciting.
But yeah, I'm all about, I want to get to that frequency. In law of one terminology, they would say that they would call that 4th density, perhaps.
Yes.
We're in 3rd density here on Earth. And, you know, the more I can embody 4th density in this 3rd density environment, or I can be a bridge to merge the two together. That way, those who are called to resonate with me and I can help them move into that density a little more easily. That's part of what I do.
Yeah, so
So
you're kind of like a realm bridger like I am. I feel like that too.
Mhm.
I can dive into the third density, fourth density. I find myself doing that through through my different selves, I guess,
Mhm.
through my different fractals of self. And it's tough sometimes to go into that third density when you've been into those higher densities. I'm not going to lie,
Mhm.
but I do feel like we attract the people that are we're meant to help bridge over. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. And basically, so Pluto, to nutshell that thing that's going to be happening for so long, Pluto and Aquarius, it's a great time to do shadow work because Pluto represents working on trauma, and the energy of Aquarius can move things at lightning speed. So Pluto and Aquarius, I can do my shadow work quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Pluto is empowerment and wealth, and it can paradigm shift you to new levels of power and wealth. And again, let's define terms. Power, there's power over and there's shared power. I'm hoping people listening to this podcast would be more about shared power. I want power that benefits everybody, right?
Absolutely.
The
Mm-hmm.
rising tide lifting all the boats. And wealth can be money, but it can also be anything you value, tangible or intangible. So you can more rapidly attain wealth and power with Pluto and Aquarius more easily than you could have previously. And it's
Fantastic.
just a great time to make big changes rapidly. Yeah, Aquarius is about quantum leaps and paradigm shifts. Pluto empowers that. So it's a time to just be your real self. Aquarius is also about being your unique, one of a kind self, following your intuitive hits, serving others with your special gifts and talents you most love to use. So all these things are potentiated by Pluto coming into Aquarius.
Ooh, it's like an
So
amplifier.
very much so. Yeah, it's a game changer. And I'll just mention briefly, as the decade progresses here in the 2020s, Pluto is going to align harmoniously with Uranus and Neptune. They're going to make a little mini grand trine where they make soft aspects to each other.
Uh-huh.
And that to me is very predictive of the harmony of Aquarian age coming in more strongly.
And that will be in the 2020s.
Well, it's already started.
It's
I
already
mean,
started.
this aspect pattern is already beginning to form enough to be felt some, but by the time we get to like 2025, 2026, it's going to be full on really getting strong.
Yeah, and it's shaking it up. It's obvious. We're seeing that in the world, right? We're
Yep,
seeing
we
it.
sure are.
Things are being sifted a little bit, right? And a lot of people are awakening. Yeah.
Yeah, and one message I want to give out strong and clear is, there's a lot of chaos and there will be more before it's all shaken out.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a light worker and you want to help, just please stay as awakened and clear as you possibly can. Do your healing work, do your awakening work. If you're a light worker, I think your prime job is to hold the highest possible frequency yourself, which automatically radiates to the collective. So you serve no one by getting freaked out by all the shit going down out there. You serve by staying in your deepest awakening that you can. You feel what you feel and you don't deny it, but when you have something come, you do your shadow work, you heal, you unburden, you integrate, and then you use that. One thing I found is whenever you're hit with a challenge, if you master that challenge, the bigger the challenge, the bigger the uptick in your awakening as a result of you mastering that.
Absolutely. That's a powerful
Yeah.
message. I've got two
Mhm.
sayings, not my reality of what's going on in the world, and mind your own vibration, like mind your own business, mind your own
Ooh, I like that.
frequency. Because
Yeah.
when you're in your own frequency and you're not tuning into that reality of what's going on in the 3D right now,
Mhm.
wow, you can awaken so much faster and you can shift and you can
Yeah.
quantum leap so much more rapidly as well.
Yeah. There's one of the, if I can throw in one, I'm starting to get downloads about sharing things.
Yes, share.
The ask the question, what is mine to do? If the law of one channeling is correct, there are nearly 1 billion light workers on the planet. There's plenty of folks helping out here. You're not responsible for every single thing that's wrong on the planet. You need to feel, what am I particularly being guided to, whether it's small or large? What is the service I'm being guided for right now? Just do that service. Don't worry about the rest. Other people are handling that part. If you get all distraught worrying about the big, horrible things, then it will neutralize your effectiveness.
Absolutely.
So notice it in the background, but keep your eyes on the service you're here to do right now, and then you'll be of the greatest benefit to the great process.
That's
You're
a
one
powerful
piece in a
message.
very, very large puzzle.
Yes, it's observe what's going on, but don't allow your energy to partake in it, right? And it's just hold your frequency as much as possible, because it's all going to ripple itself out. The more of us
Yeah.
that hold that frequency, we're anchoring ourselves into those higher densities, right? Those
Right.
higher vibrations. So yeah, and that's a mastery in itself, I've got to say, because when it really just depends on the people you're around too, as well, and just really holding your
Hmm.
light, holding your frequency, and
Yeah,
not
and if you
allowing
can
yourself
find
to.
a group to resonate with, whether it's in person or online,
Mhm.
just find a sangha, find a group of like-minded people who are on a similar path, because it's really important to have support people. None of us
Yes.
can do it solo. Yeah.
Absolutely. And call them in, do an invocation, call them in. I've done that. I've called in like-minded people and boom, they just show up. And
Yeah.
I had a guest on here a few weeks ago and I had signed up, with her online. Well, she come to find out she lives maybe 10 minutes away from me. And it was really funny
Whoa.
because I know vibrationally we matched, and so
Nice.
it's just, call them in. And, this is a great way to end the show. So let's dive into the invocation, Benjamin. You've
Okay.
told us a little bit about what it is, and I would love to end on a very positive, uplifting, healing, blissful note.
Okay. So this will take probably 5 to 10 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the best way to do this is I will guide you in the process, Tanya, if that's
Okay.
okay.
Yes.
And then I'll simultaneously guide everyone else to come along with us.
Sounds
Okay.
fantastic.
All right. So I'll address both you and everyone who's listening or watching. So please, if possible, give this your undivided attention for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Close your eyes. And first, just start by feeling your body, just a general full body sense of the body's feeling. And note that. Then if you have any awareness of your energy body, the energy in or around you, just feel that as well. And just get a general, without using words, just feel how the body and the energy body feel, and just note this as your baseline. After we do the process, we're going to check again to see what's changed. So getting the baseline first is for starters. So I've already given all the preamble stuff earlier, so I don't need to repeat any of that. So we're about to call the higher self to merge with our human self to the greatest extent that serves highest good. Again, you'll only get as much of it as you are ready for. You can open fully and completely. There is no danger of overwhelm. As I said, only good effects will come from this. So I'm about to lead you in an 8-word invocation to invite your higher self to merge with your human self as much as serves highest good. So do this out loud if you can, but it's okay to think it if speaking it out loud is not appropriate. So we're going to do it right now. So repeat after me. Maximum embodied awakening.
Maximum embodied awakening.
That serves highest good, please.
That serves highest good, please.
Now let the words go and just relax into passivity. Your passivity is what allows it to work. Now, if you are feeling energy moving in your body, that's your higher self coming in. It's kind of like you're a sponge and it's water soaking in. If you have that energetic awareness, your only task now is to passively feel that happening on its own. If you do not feel subtle energy, that's okay. Just feel your breath come and go on its own. No breath control. Just let it do what it wants. Either way, you're passive, either feeling energy or feeling breath. There are some things it's best not to do while this is in process. Please do not use any effort or willpower to try to make anything happen or stop anything from happening. Please do not deliberately visualize or imagine anything. Please just be passive and simply feel energy or breath. If you get distracted, at some point you'll notice that. At that point, simply return your attention gently to feeling energy or breath. If the distraction persists in the background, that is fine. Don't fight it. Don't try to change it, but let it be in the background. Your focus is on feeling energy or breath. The final nuance is if you wish to learn the least effort needed to feel this, I call this the minimum effort game. So let's start by dropping to no effort at all. I want you to actually even stop trying to feel anything. And for a moment, just go to absolute zero effort, just exist for a moment. Whatever happens is fine. Please start that now. Okay, if at zero effort you still have awareness of that energy or breath without even trying, then zero effort is enough. Stay there. If at zero effort you have lost awareness of energy or breath, then add little bits of effort back bit by bit until you regain awareness of energy or breath. The idea being obviously to use the absolute minimum amount of effort that gives you that awareness. So now you should be using the least effort that gives you the awareness, just passively feeling whatever's happening. Now, Tanya, I feel like you've hit embodied awakening already.
Yeah.
And here's the question I'll ask you, and the listeners and watchers can ask themselves this as well. Is all the following true right now? No mental chatter, no challenging emotion, peaceful and effortless.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's embodied awakening. You can always get better, but this is the embodied awakening you can currently hold. And that's how it works. So again, I took a moment to kind of walk you through it, but in reality, when you're doing it, like if you choose to do it on a daily basis, you just say maximum embodied awakening. The service asks, good, please, relax, give it a few seconds to lock in. You'll feel it. Done. 5 or 10 seconds, move along. Repeat as needed through the day. And of course, all this is detailed in my book, Instant Divine Assistance, Your Complete Guide to Fast and Easy Spiritual Awakening, Healing, and More. And that's available on Amazon. Just look for Instant Divine Assistance. And yeah, so that not only is the embodied awakening invocation described, there's the healing invocation, the hollow reed invocation you mentioned, how to do custom invocations to call in literally any flavor of energy you want anytime. It's all on tap 24/7, and gives you, it kind of teaches you the good working relationship of how to call on your higher self to do for you those things that it can do better than your ego can do them for itself.
Absolutely.
And I've had so many people, you can just on Amazon, there's at this moment, there's nearly 100 reviews of the book up there. And most people are just raving about, oh my God, I can't believe this works just like he said. It's so fast. It's so easy. Why have I been using all this effort all these years? You know?
Well, it's funny when I first said those words, immediately I heard, it's about time. That's what I heard in my head.
Yeah, what I'm excited.
Like my higher self was like, girl, move aside. It's about time.
All right. I'm glad that was helpful. Yeah, most of the paths out there are teaching ego effort.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is hard. That's a struggle. Yeah.
And it's like saying, oh, lift yourself up by your own bootstraps. It doesn't work. No. You can't do that.
And it's not fun to do that. This was enjoyable. This was an enjoyable experience. Yeah. I felt it was like a cosmic hug. I felt all of these tingles and sensations in my body, and then just this peace around me, and this, like you said, those neutral thoughts. And it was like,
Good. Yay. Yeah. So I'm all about, I've done plenty of paths with plenty of effort, and I'm at an age now where I'll take easy and quick because it seems to get it done even better than the effort paths. So that's what I offer for people to consider and see if it works for them too.
Yes. And so, Benjamin, this was a delight. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there a website that people can go to find out more about all the services you provide?
Yeah. So astroshaman.com, ASTROSHAMAN.com. That's the central site. From there, you can find everything else, the invocations, the book, my astrology, shamanic healing, life coaching, all that is referenced there. So that's and that's where you can also link to my podcasts and everything else I do. So that's the one-stop shop to learn about what I do.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Benjamin. I feel amazing. And
good.
Thank you for bringing this frequency in today. And wow, the work that you're doing is wonderful. Thank you so much for shining your light. Thank you for doing all of these ayahuasca ceremonies. One of these days we will align, and I will be at one of your ayahuasca ceremonies. I know
sounds great.
I know it, because I know that's in my wheelhouse. I just don't think it's right now in my wheelhouse, but I say that, and we just did this invocation, so who knows what's gonna take place through that ceremony. But thank you so much again for coming on the show, and
my great pleasure. Thank you so much for having
the time with us today. You deserve to navigate your life in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.theexistentialempath.com.